1. And we are live, Jax.
Oh no.
I know, we're now live. Say hello, Jax.
Hello, Jax. So yes, we are. And we have been watching many fun things over the last couple of weeks.
I know, yeah, very many different things. I think the most, the most fun thing I've watched over the last few weeks has been, well, since it came out, is Agatha All Along. And I basically watched the first few episodes when I got back off my holiday the other week. And then I watched, when the second episode, third or fourth episode came out, I watched that one immediately. I got back on my holiday and just watched all the episodes, binge watched them immediately. It was like up until last week's episode, then today's episode's come out and I've watched that, and this show is just good. It's just so fun.
I completely agree.
All the characterizations are so fun. It is a shame that the Funko Pops spoiled the reveal of two characters and who they are.
Yes.
It is a shame about that.
But one of them I did guess very, very early on. Both of them I guessed very early on. But weirdly enough, it's this episode where it's almost confirmed to be that character. Yeah. I randomly actually, I don't think it's that character.
Oh yeah, and then there's the other episode of.
And I found out about the leaks.
Yeah, and there's the other character that you were like, it can't be him, and I'm like, it is him.
Who's that?
Wiccan.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's because one. I guess the two characters, which is Wiccan and Audrey Plaza's character, and I say I guessed them that way round early on, and it was only this episode where I saw the ending. I was like, I don't think that's Wiccan.
Yeah, I was like, I only got that it was it's meant to be thingy one because of the line Agatha says to him right before it happens. Just like, oh no.
Yeah, because the thing is, I would have said actually some of the stuff that he wears kind of reminded me a lot of Wiccan from the comic books, and the
also,
W.
I will admit this: Audrey Plaza made me watch the show just because of the fact that people coming like, this is like the gayest shit that Marvel's ever put out, and she went, I hope it's the gayest shit Marvel's ever put out. That's what I signed up for. Just fucking I don't give a shit what people think. Because Audrey Plaza is fucking amazing.
She is. I think she's fantastic. She is the only reason I watched the Chucky remake, because I don't think Chucky needs a remake in any manner. But actually, I'd watch it. She was pretty good. But other than that, just watch the originals. But yeah, no. Agatha All Along has been awesome, but also the home release of X-Men, of Wolverine and Deadpool. That's the way round. I'm going to keep saying. Came out.
Oh yeah. Well, I haven't got it on DVD. I don't have a DVD player, so I'm kind of unfortunately stuck in that bit of waiting for.
I bought it on Prime, Amazon Prime digital release, and I've watched it so many times. And I do believe they've added more blood to the home release.
Makes sense.
So yeah, I really wanted there to be extra scenes in it. There wasn't, that I noticed, which is a shame because I think that could have been something. I would have watched a 3-hour version of that any day of the week.
I think most of us would have watched a 3-hour version of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and today's game in the background is a game called Astro Colony.
So yeah, Agatha All Along. We might as well start at the beginning. So yeah, it's a follow up to the events of WandaVision for the most part.
Oh yeah, I will admit the one thing I do have with Agatha All Along is it does feel a little bit like it's a bit, not late, but it does feel like it should have been here earlier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I completely know what you mean. It's been about 3 years.
But then I remembering the first episode that the guy that, was talking to her straight up just goes, when she asked how long have I been here, he just straight up tells her, you've been here 3 years. So it would have made sense if they'd have just brought it out after WandaVision, because we'd have had... So it's like other stuff in the MCU has had to happen for us to get back to this show. But I suppose if they made it earlier, the line wouldn't have been 3 years. It'd have been like, you've been here 6 months, or you've been here a year. I don't think it would have been as impactful, if you know what I mean, the line.
Yeah, it also needed to point out that a lot of events have happened since the events of WandaVision. Because you've had basically the multiverse saga going on in that time. Yeah. So, yeah, she's been held in this dead space. They've done it in a really interesting way. And now, some of this has... I mean, I was watching this first episode with my wife and my stepdaughter, and I had to explain some bits, at least to the wife. And it's quite interesting because some of this stuff has been picked up from a lot of these shows like Screen Crush, and some of it hasn't. So everything we see in that first episode, all of that police drama stuff, all of the information that we're getting there is not real. So when she's talking to the detective over the plastic police tape, she's actually talking to him over his fence in real life. At no point is she left in all of everything we saw, the library, everything. She hasn't left the grounds of her property. No. Everything that's happened in her head there. That's why you see the fake car in her living room when she's driving around talking to people, or just driving around talking to herself. She's in her living room during that whole scene. So things like when you see Wanda's body, and everyone's like, well, that's Wanda's body, and you take Wanda on the toe tag. That's all in her head. That's the spell breaking down in many ways.
Yeah.
That's the reason. And if you actually look at the toe tag and the order it's given, it's got Wanda's name last, and then it's got Agatha's name, and then it's got a number of empty slots. So which I assume at some point we're going to meet the other people that had those slots, or we're going to find some of those names. But that body represented, in my opinion, and this is a thing that no one seems to have grabbed onto. It actually represents the Darkhold, not Wanda, because the Darkhold is dead. The Darkhold had been destroyed in every single reality, and the last person to own it was Wanda. The one before was Agatha, hence the photo.
But also, if you pay attention to it, did you also notice the anagram of it in the first episode of the book? The book that
Darkhold.
Yeah, it was the title of the book. I was like, that's Darkhold. It's like, oh yeah.
And all these things are starting to break down the spell that's held her in place. And weirdly enough, now what we've seen, and we were assuming it's because Wanda had died that the spell was breaking down, but it's looking like actually it's exactly like the young boy said when he was first talking to her. I broke the spell. So yeah, but an interesting thing in this episode to the thing we were just talking about, by the way, the 3 years, because I mean, obviously now I know I'm wrong because of the leak, but that is Billy. The game at the back, when they say what's that written on the back, they literally call it out in that episode when they look at the Ouija board and he looks at it and says it's 3+. Well, in the timeline, Billy was born 3 years ago.
Yep.
He is 3+.
Also, taking account, remember, he was born 3 years ago, but he was literally not a toddler in the WandaVision show either. That's what's funny.
Well, no, because they were born, and then within the episode, they aged. And then by the end of it, they were like 9, 10 age. So yeah, but yeah, technically, he's only, if that is Billy, he's only 3 years old. I thought that was a great little whack.
Oh yeah, it's felt we finally got the reveal of who the teen is, and I'm like, and there's Wiccan, which means, and look, the mutants are showing up again.
Well, it's kind of thing. This is so weird because, like I say, I didn't know about these leaks of the toys until I spoke to you after I watched the episode.
Oh yeah, well,
So
it's one of those things. If it was one of those things that people get in the group I'm in that does goes on about Marvel stuff. They were getting annoyed at the fact that the Funko Pops leaked who Audrey Plaza's playing and who he's playing.
Yeah,
because they weren't supposed to release till after the series had finished, but they leaked basically.
Yeah, well, it happens. But like I say, so I went from episode 1 to the very end of this episode thinking, oh, it's Billy. And that was a nice little touch there with the 3+. And then I said the Crown, I was like, I don't think this is Billy anymore. And then I talked to you, it's like, oh, it is definitely Billy. Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, the straight of the Funko Pop just goes Wiccan as the Funko Pop.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. So we now know we have Wiccan, which is kind of cool. It's nice to see that we have. But it also means, as you know, my obsession with, we now have another mutant we now have even more mutants in the MCU.
Well, now, here's what we're going to get to here. Are they going to class... Because they have had an emphasis here of magic users not being mutants.
So...
They managed to unlock their power. The only one that is different has... Yes, I know that they mentioned that with the sort of connection to Charles Xavier, that yes, there is a mutant there thing with...
No. Straight up, the ending of Miss Marvel is straight up. She is called a mutant at the end of it. Basically, they say, yeah, your power isn't coming from it. It's some mutation in your genes, and then the X-Men '97 fucking theme plays, slightly plays in that scene, and that is a really good little touch of going, yeah. And then we have Mr. Immortal who shows up in She-Hulk, which I absolutely love that Mr. Immortal's the one that fucking shows up.
But here's what I'm saying is that so far in Marvel, they have had more of a showing that magic and the mystic side is a natural trait, not a mutation trait. Even with Wanda, she was always destined to be the Scarlet Witch.
Well, she's always destined to be Scarlet Witch, but she's also technically under... Remember, current Marvel law, Wanda is not a mutant, which is...
She's an enhanced.
Yeah, she's one of what's-his-face's things.
Yeah. Due to the connection to being close to an Infinity Stone. So I'm going to put myself out on the stretch here. Could be wrong, that in this instance, in as the MCU stands, I don't think he is going to be cast as a mutant. I think he's just going to be cast as a magic user.
Well, I have a feeling that he'll be a mutant, but I think they'll change his mutant power. Because remember, mutants can use magic, as we established in the comics. And it could be that the X-Men era we get, when the X-Men do show up in the MCU after what we both think is going to happen, because it is more and more looking like the... what's it called? The end of... That's not the end. Sorry, more and more looking like the MCU is about to end up being a certain period is about to happen of... The Secret Wars will be the end of the Marvel Universe as we kind of know it.
Yeah.
And we'll end up with...
We're going to get a Battle World, and then we're going to get a new Prime.
A new Prime Earth.
And then... Now, this is something that because I think everyone's kind of already got to this point logically in their heads, this is where we're headed, if you're a comic book fan. But here's a weird thing that I've not heard Kevin Feige say before about any other character, except for this one, and he referred to Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool in the Deadpool films as Deadpool Prime. Now, I don't know if that, Kevin Feige likes to be cheeky with some of these things. I don't know if that's his hint to say, actually, yeah, we're going to get a Prime Universe, and, he's going to be our first one to be it. He's our first designated Prime character. Or not. Maybe that's how the Prime Universe starts. It's basically Deadpool doing Oliver Queen and starting a whole new multiverse.
Well, Ryan even said he doesn't know if Marvel's going to let him come back as Deadpool anyway after everything, didn't he? He's unsure. We know we're getting him in the films like in the next year or so. kind of.
Here's the thing: they say this, but we all now but know there is definitely going to be a Deadpool 4. Well, even if it's not a Deadpool 4, chances are it's not going to be called Deadpool 4.
No, chances are he's going to be in in Doomsday or something as part of that.
No. So here's the thing. So this is a couple of cheeky things that have been said. Ryan Reynolds says he wouldn't do it. He's not up for doing a Deadpool 4. Or another Deadpool movie. Now, like I say, Kevin Feige has referred to him as a prime character, which is quite a significant role to fill within Marvel as a character. Designation, at least. I'm thinking the next film we're going to... And also, you've got to remember, this last movie has made $1 billion, and its home release is looking to do another $1 billion. So, the chances of them not reusing this at Disney and giving them stupid amounts of money to do it is negligible. It's happening, and it's probably going to be an X-Force film. And me and you both know a great era in which they could do the X-Force, in which Deadpool and Wolverine are involved. What did they have to do? They were a Black Ops team slaughtering people that were trying to harm mutants, and in an era that what happened? X-Men versus Avengers. What does everyone want to see? X-Men versus Avengers. So what would be a great storyline is all of a sudden Cable has to come back.
You say this, but we kind of already know that Doomsday is happening very shortly, and so is and the other one's happening the year after.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying this is. I'm saying this is going to be future stuff coming back.
Oh yeah, but I have a feeling, and also that isn't Avengers versus X-Men, by the way, is before that. During the Krakoan era, it's Avengers versus X-Men versus the Eternals, and it isn't even the X-Men versus the Avengers. It's the X-Men and the Avengers fighting essentially the Eternals because the Eternals fucked up.
The storyline I'm talking about is when Cable has to come back. Cable has the whole storyline where he's protecting a girl called Hope Summers.
Yeah, I know what you're on about. You're on about but the problem is to have that storyline, you need to have a certain other storyline first.
I don't see. Here's the thing.
Because the whole reason for defending Hope is because she's the first mutant born after M Day.
See, now here's the thing. Here's the reason why I don't think that could actually be of an importance as it needs to be. Because the only thing that needs to be known is that at some point a character that we know and other characters know has come back in time for whatever reason and said that the whole future is fucked. There's a woman called Hope. She gets the power of a thing called the Phoenix, and she destroys everything once she gets involved with this other guy. We need to stop her. And at the same time, you've got Cable coming back, looking for an old ally, which would be Deadpool, going, look, I need to protect this girl from anything. And you know what it's like to have to protect a girl against fucking someone that wants to kill a kid in the past for saying they haven't done, because you did it for me. And he looks across the room, and who does he see? Fucking Wolverine. Wolverine from a different reality in which he does know a Cable. But everyone he knows is dead. So he's going to protect that. He's going to help that Cable, right? Because he's just helped a kid. It's a great fucking storyline. X-Force, starting it all off. Fuck. I know that's just me now going into a major rant, but yeah.
It is, but I have a feeling it's not going to happen, because I have a feeling that we've got the Prime Deadpool, which is, the first time he's described a character with a Prime as the actor, meaning that essentially Kevin wants Ryan to be Deadpool because he is the only actor. I think which makes sense. Ryan is unfortunately, it's his own fault. He's just that good. He is essentially Deadpool at this point.
Let's put it this way as well. He has not only said there was going to be a new Wolverine in the stories to come, but he's also said Hugh Jackman is going to be Wolverine in other stories. And at no point does he refer to either one of those two characters as prime characters. No. And if you're not going to designate Hugh Jackman's Wolverine or Hugh Jackman as a Prime Wolverine.
Yeah.
There's something special about that designation, and we don't know what it is yet. We just don't know what it is yet. I mean, maybe it has something to do with that little scene in Wolverine and Deadpool, in which Thor is holding Deadpool, but we don't know.
I feel like that scene is in Doomsday or in the other one.
But yeah, like I said, I actually think you're right. I think that's towards the end. I think his sacrifice is gonna be what starts a new universe, and it's because he has this ability to break the fourth wall that gives him the ability to create a new Marvel universe with everything in it. Because he knows.
It's the idea of. It's also, I think this is the reason people are going, oh, where were our X-Men films when we're like, why you've got Batman? Like, I'm like, it feels like if they put them in the MCU now, for lack of better words, for people that are not exactly comic fans, it's going to be a little bit jarring. And it's also, it's just going to be, it's just another superhero team. Whereas if you bring the X-Men into the comics as, when you reboot everything, you've got, okay, we're now building up all the heroes again, building up the Marvel universe again, and we're now doing it like it was in the comics with with every group of heroes together.
I mean, I would argue there is a way that they could do it and integrate them in now, and it would kind of fall in line with some of the old comic books and some of the animated stuff, in which the way they would have to do it would be too difficult. They would have to have 3 movies out, one at best, at latest one every year for 3 years. But really one every 6 months, which is almost impossible. But the story would be set over the entire timeline. Those movies would be set over the timeline of the MCU. The first one would be showing how the school was being set up and a few of the conflicts that had happened, but how they were kind of either low level or thought of as something else, kind of like they were in the books and in, if you remember, the X-Men Evolution series where they were in school and they actually managed to keep themselves hidden thanks to Charles Xavier and a lot of his mind control stuff. He kept a lot of it hidden.
I do find the Charles Xavier, the evolution, a bit weird that they basically go to a normal school.
Yeah.
It's like, but the whole point of Charles' state is it's meant to be a school. It's the only bit of that show that did genuinely strike me as a little odd. I'll be honest.
The reason they did that, I can't remember where I heard this, and it was on one of those sort of talks about it, was because they wanted a place where there was natural conflict between the two groups of enemies, or the heroes and the villains, and because both the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and the X-Men had to go to high school, they had to go to high school at the same place, even though they lived in a school.
Yeah, it was basically, it was all, to be fair, it's a 90s thing, let's be honest. How many groups of heroes in the 90s had, like...
That show is just badly thought up, to be fair.
It's just one of those things. Don't get me wrong, I will forever stand by X-Men 97 and X-Men, the animated series, because as someone who grew up watching the animated series, it is just beautiful. It was one of those shows that is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just one of those shows that the animated series was basically made for adults. Have you heard the latest controversy about the future of the animated series, though?
No. What's this?
I'll give you a clue. He got himself fired.
Oh, he's not trying to claim that he has exclusive rights on the second season or something, so it can't be made.
No, he's basically saying, oh, the throwing away made for Apocalypse and Onslaught Saga because that's because, they're trying to cut me out of it. And I'm like, well, yeah, because unfortunately, which is possibly, yes, true, they may be getting rid of the Age of Apocalypse storyline and the Onslaught storyline from Season 2 and bring it back in a later season. Because they're having to redo, that's why the season got delayed from coming out, later this year to 2026. Why it got delayed from coming out next year to, for another year, because they had to rewrite most of the season, because they basically went, because they had to basically, release the reason he got fired, because he started talking shit again.
Also, not to be a bit of a downer on, not to be a downer on him or what he's saying here, but something both Marvel and Disney have done in the past is they have blocked stories midway through their production on animated stuff because they have decided to use them in live action. Now, what has Kevin Feige said the next saga is going to be after all this is said and done? It's the Mutant Saga. What are the two biggest villains that you could probably get in the Mutant Saga? Apocalypse and Oblivion.
In Onslaught.
Onslaught, sorry. Yeah.
And more of the fucking targets.
I can see them easily going for that as being the two big things. You're going to start off with Apocalypse, and the result of Apocalypse gives you Onslaught, and then they have to take that out. So yeah, no, that's what I can see it being the case here. We don't know. He could easily be.
He's most likely just talking out his arse again, as usual, because that's what he does.
Yeah.
It's because he got fired, so his response is now, I'm going to badmouth the show as much as possible, basically.
I mean, it's good enough for him. He's just lost the ability to work for pretty much every.
That's what he keeps doing. It's like people keep giving him the time of day now. But have you actually seen his tweets? I actually realised that I actually genuinely don't like the dude anymore after reading some of his tweets. The guy
I did read some back in
the guy is full of himself. Like, he literally says, without me, you wouldn't have X-Men 97 or these great X-Men storylines that we're getting. I'm like, you didn't write these storylines. They're straight up from the comics. All you did was adapt a comic storyline to a show. Stop claiming shit for... I'm sorry, but isn't it Claremont's run E is for Extinction and stuff?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, but no. I'll give the credit to the fucking dude that wrote the original comics you just did. Because, yeah, it's him that did Cassandra.
Here's the thing. Adapting stuff in a way that is great for animation, the way that it was done, is a skill. It is a very, very... I mean, whoever did what was very talented.
Oh, yeah.
But here's the thing. Here is the thing. I will give him credit for being the
I'll give him credit for adapting them, but it's...
I'll give him credit. I'll give him credit for the ones he's got credit for. But he didn't write every single episode. He was just the guy in charge of the other people, so he may have given art direction.
And also, he has a weird obsession. Also, I will agree with a lot of other people. As badass as Gambit was in the episodes he was in, I will agree with a lot of people that the dude has a weird fetish for Rogue and Magneto, and I have no idea why. If you know what I mean. Once again, I can't. I'm not going to go into that because there is a fan base for that. There has been one or two hints in the book. Oh no, it's in the it's things from the comics, but I think it's one of those. A lot of people like myself. I think it's one of the ones. It's one of the few comic book runs. I'm like, you could have left in the comics, and I wouldn't have cared. You know,
once again, that does come down to a kind of personal preference. I kind of like how it ended Rogue character in the end.
Oh yeah, I like that it ended in its. But God, so many people use it and go, like, trying to badmouth Rogue because of it, and I'm sat there going, do you guys not realise the reason that Rogue was coming to trying to find Gambit to tell him the truth, to tell him that she'd made a decision in the end.
But also, it means that at the end of that episode, at the end of the series, when Apocalypse finds the Gambit card, it means he's going to find some way of bringing Gambit back as one of his horsemen. And the way he's turned back into the hero is going to be Rogue. Rogue telling him the truth, everything.
I still remember the panel from the comics of it's the panel after both of them. You'd have to get married because Rogue refuses. Is wearing wearing the collar. That people say that Rogue's just put that on, and I'm like, you guys don't get why she won't wear those collars, do you? It's like
it's just crazy. But anywho, we have right off of the first episode of Agatha, but yeah, no, you're right. You're 100% right. And so yeah, both like I say, he's just being a dick. I mean, all the work he did was fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Other people worked on that show. He wasn't the sole guy behind all of it. You know. And to actually give fans their due, we've been asking for this for decades, and all of us that asked for it watched it, and it was good enough for us to then re-watch it.
I was telling people that watch the original to watch the show because I was like, if you enjoyed the original, you trust me, you will enjoy this show.
Yeah. The only my wife watched the original series, so we could watch the new series. So once again, it was very much a symbiosis thing, and he captured it as an overarching director. He captured what was great about that the first set of series, but the writers there as a group, which he may have a hand in picking, did their job as well, and he wasn't the only one there. No, there's no need to be a dick about it in any manner. But yeah, he's probably not going to work anywhere major soon.
No, which is a sad thing, but it's his own. He's done it to himself. That's the problem.
In this case, it does completely seem to be his own fault, and at every turn he's tried to blame other people for his mistakes, and he shouldn't have. From what it looks like now, Disney gave him the best deal by letting him walk away and not say anything, and he then decided to think that they weren't going to say anything at all, and he could say whatever he wanted, and they said, "No, here you go. We will tell everyone why we got rid of you."
The Shredder's done.
When the rumours were, like you were saying, he got fired for his OnlyFans, I was like, that's a bit bad. I know they have morality clauses, but that's not nice. That's unfair. Disney's bad.
Yeah.
And then it turns out, actually, no, it had nothing to do with it. He didn't give a shit about his OnlyFans. In fact, no one cared. It weren't making enough viewers for anyone to care. This is why we got rid of it.
We got rid of it because why? Oh, because he got accused of shit. Oh no. And it's just one of them things that I'm like, if you'd have kept quiet, nobody would have.
He seems. Here's the problem. He seems to have. He seems to have not learned any kind of lessons from the Weinsteins and the other weirdos from the world, in which two things are an outcome. You either do the thing you're doing, like shit like that, and then when you get found out and they say, we're going to keep it quiet, just leave, you just leave. Yeah. Or you do the thing and then go, right, publicly, I did this thing and I shouldn't have done this thing. They weren't going to say anything, I think I should, I did wrong. And then you become the good guy. Because the only option is you're the fucking creep. And you did the stupid thing of getting away with it and then saying, oh, the other people are cunts.
Yeah.
Because they hold all the cards.
Oh, yeah. It's just that thing of, it's just like, why did you do this to yourself, mate? Why?
Yeah. Because the thing is, Disney lawyers are not going to let Disney say anything that's libelous. So all they're doing is waiting for you to keep saying enough stuff for their lawyers to go, right, now we can sue you. And very few people win against the lawyers of the mouse. Very few.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the one of the very few I think actually might is the that dude that's going to be suing him over his wife's death.
I think it's the wife suing over the husband's death.
No, the wife died. She ate food in a restaurant after telling them that all the allergies. They assured her that the food wasn't there. She ate it and died of anaphylactic shock, and then told him he wasn't allowed to go to court.
Because he had Disney Plus.
Because he used the free Disney Plus trial. He doesn't even have Disney Plus anymore.
Yeah.
He just used the free trial.
The thing of the it's where the meme has come from of, don't get Disney Plus. Disney can then legally kill your family.
Yeah. So it is now turned out that they
can't use it.
In the first place, they weren't allowed to. So, what they wanted, the actual terms were, is they wanted to. You couldn't sue them. You had to go through a thing called arbitration.
It's a thing that's primary. I think it's primarily done in the US than it is outside the US. I think
it is. This was a thing that was set up to help alleviate court costs and wait times, because it's very expensive to go to court in America, and you do have to wait quite a long time to get there. And in that time, other costs like lawyer fees do incur. So this arbitration system was set up. And so here's a major difference. If you go to court, the entire case is done by a judge who may not be an expert in the field that you're talking about. So we'll just have to make a decision on what he understands the situation is. In arbitration, they are meant to be experts in the field that they are arbitrating in, so they would know the ins and outs of everything legal-wise. But in court, everything is public, so the outcome of it is for public record. And if it turns out that that this restaurant actually had killed 3 or 4 other people and paid them off, if that was in court and that was found out in discovery, then that's public knowledge. In arbitration, it's sealed, so no one outside of that arbitration room would find out about that. And it's also a lot cheaper, a lot faster. So there's a lot of reasons why a big company would prefer you to go to arbitration, especially if they're worried that other things may come out in discovery. You also can't appeal against any verdict done in arbitration, whereas in court you can. So yeah, there are swings and roundabouts to both. In some cases, it's actually a lot better for you. In this case, definitely not. I also believe there might be a limit to the amount of money you can receive in compensation from arbitration as well, whereas a judge can technically go as far as he wants. But yeah, that's the legal ins and outs on that one. It's quite an interesting case. There's a great few places you can look up all about it on YouTube. Legal Eagle, for example, and I think Leonard French talks about it. But yeah, the dude, I think, is actually getting to go to court.
Good, it should be.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, so anyway,
you should not be able to kill your family just because they fucking.
Oh no, 100%. That's the most ridiculous thing. I can't imagine a sane lawyer saying that with a straight face to a client and going, right, this is what we're going to try and get away with, without someone in that room going, are we the bad guys?
Hans, are we the bad guys?
I mean, seriously.
Oh no, it's ridiculous. But all
on the stuff we love about. We still give them our money.
I don't know. There's a bunch of people that go, Disney needs to die, and oh my god, the end of Disney is going to be the best thing for everyone. And I'm like, guys. I get you hate Disney because 9 out of 10 though, a weird thing is, it's people that do not get. So here's the thing that unpopular opinion that a lot of people aren't going to get. They keep this Disney doesn't actually make the Star Wars shit that you keep hating on. They may own Lucasfilms, but they let Lucasfilms do what they want to do.
Basically, yeah.
It's this thing called Disney understands that let their IPs go, let the IP holders do what they want, even though we own them. the same with Marvel. Everyone goes, "Oh, it's Disney that does it." It's like, no. It's Marvel Studios that does the Marvel movies. All Disney does is fund it. That's it.
Well, there is a little bit of a...
There is a bit of executive overhaul from some of the Disney part of it, but
there is definitely an executive overarching, especially with cabinet the Bobs that have been involved. The one I could easily be wrong with this, but I do believe part of the sale of LucasArts did guarantee them quite a lot of autonomy. You've got to remember, Marvel Studios was essentially made by Disney, because there was no MCU before Disney. There was, it wasn't a Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was just Marvel Entertainment movies. You still see that logo on the Sony movies. So it is a different thing between the two studios. Marvel will have a lot more executive oversight from Disney in comparison to LucasArts, because LucasArts was an existing studio beforehand that was brought in with a lot of protection over it. The same goes with Pixar.
Yep, that's why Pixar makes movies independently.
They are owned, but in that ownership there was
it's people that complain about Disney would say, "Oh, Disney needs to die because they ruined Marvel, they ruined Star Wars, they ruined insert X property that Disney owns now." And I'm like, you'd be surprised how many of these films that you love from your childhood, or these films that you'd be surprised how many of these companies are actually owned by Disney in the background.
The thing is, it's not even the Disney name you need to think about. It's Buena Vista.
Yeah.
Buena Vista does everything. You look on the side of your old VHS tapes or DVDs, Blu-rays, there's that little logo.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden you go, oh, wait a minute, that looks a hell of a lot like the Disney castle, doesn't it? Oh, that's because it's all Disney.
Yep. What do you mean it's all Disney? It always was.
It always was. And that's the truth. That company was actually built to make live-action movies that they didn't want necessarily to be connected to the Disney brand, because they might be a little bit more darker in tone, a little bit more adult, and Disney wasn't that. And then over time, that just became the overall publisher, I believe, or production house, whatever it is they're called. But it's everything. They have tendrils in everything.
Oh yeah, Disney's a conglomerate. Disney is not. I'll admit, they're not the best nation. They're not the best company. They have not got everyone's best interests in hearts because they're a company. Companies never do. But the reality of it is, Disney. Like, people go, "Oh, Disney's ruined Star Wars." I'm like, but did they? Because the sequel trilogy, not the best set of films. They're not amazing, but reflecting on them now, like rewatching them, they're not as bad as some subsets of the fan base make them out to be. They're just kind of mid, if that makes sense. Like, they're just kind of mediocre. They're not really amazing, but they're not terrible at the same time.
I mean, I get it, but like, I was in secondary school when I'd saved my pocket money up. I went to go and see the movie. I sat there, and I still have those feelings. And I still have those feelings of going back a couple of years later, and then a couple of years later again. And going,
you know about the prequel trilogy? I want about the sequel trilogy.
I have scars. I have emotional scars.
We know you have emotional scars. I mean, you do look like Jar Jar Binks. I mean, George Lucas got into your bedroom somehow, just put you in a film. Don't know how he did that.
I'm neither that tall or weird.
You are that weird. Don't even fucking lie. You can't even lie to anyone. Misa kind of racist. Yeah, you are, Jar Jar. Shut up.
I do like to lip things. That is true.
But oh my god.
But no. Yes, no. I like to say, people that say they don't like Disney really don't understand what Disney is. I mean, I was in Florida early this year, going to Legoland, but we had to pass Disney, and for miles, there was land that was owned by Disney, just parading Disney stuff. Lampposts in the shape of Mickey Mouse. It was immense.
Stupid robots in the way.
And that was before you could see the giant Mickey Mouse hot air balloon that was taking people up into the air from Disneyland. It was crazy. And to say that they don't do good things, I would argue everything that they have done in Florida in the last couple of years to really cause problems for the government there and how they're doing some shit to do with things like...
Isn't the fact that Disney willingly gave up their tax exemption because they refused to abide by the Florida government's shit? They were like, we're going to take away tax. Cool, do it. We don't give a shit. I think it's like...
Well, no. It was kind of even better than that. So what happened was, I know there's other legal shit around it, but the governor that was leaving, when he realised what was going on and what was about to happen, he basically signed perpetual rights over to Disney to basically do as they will within their land, basically making a mini state within the state. And DeSantis was not happy about this. And he's been doing everything he can to revoke it and called problems. He's like, no, but we also get voting rights and certain things and zoning rules, and we don't want you to do what you're doing, so we're not going to let you.
Yep, it's funny they kept blocking everything he was trying to do, and he's like, it's just they do not. It's because they don't. It's because, despite. It's to be fair though, I think that a lot of the stuff I see with the whole they want Disney to die, like. There's two subsets. There's sides of it on. There's two sides of it. There are the sides of the people that when you see unironically online go, say these exact words. I think you know what I'm going to say.
What?
The words that the words that they like to blame a certain game failed because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Of go woke, go broke.
Yeah.
They like to say that and go, yeah, Concord, or like for example, Concord failed because it went woke, so it went broke, and I'm like, Concord failed because it was a hero shooter in a market that basically hates. That's basically where Overwatch and what's it called exist.
It was a hero shooter 10 years after the hero shooter craze was popular. And after one company has already dominated the market in what a hero shooter game is.
That, and also after, there's like 3 hero shooters that are really popular, and all 3 of them are what? Free to play. Why would I pay 40 quid? Why would I pay 50 quid for a game that's the same as Overwatch or the new Marvel Rivals, or I can't remember what the other 2 are, Valorant and something else? Like, why would I pay 50 quid for for a game that's like them when I could just play Valorant for free?
Don't get me wrong. If the game is better, I will pay money for a game that's better. Especially if, like they were saying, there is no... I mean, there are loot boxes, but you don't pay for them. You just get them and it's random stuff inside because you've paid for the game. I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with that. Games that do that, I'm happy. I don't mind because it's like, oh, cool. So you just made the unlock mechanic a bit more random rather than, set levels, which I don't particularly mind. Like, for example, the game we were playing on the stream last week, Space Marine 2. Playing Space Marine 2, that doesn't have loot boxes, but it has a thing that I'm not entirely okay with. I don't like that if I play single player or I play the co-op mode in that game, for example, I have everything unlocked. No matter what I'm doing, I have every single option unlocked.
Yeah.
But if I play multiplayer, like versus multiplayer, I have to essentially unlock all the weapons and all the options. And I really can't be arsed unlocking everything in multiplayer. Like, it's the only thing that actively puts me off like PvP in that game, because I don't see the point of, like, I get why, but I just don't. I think what it is because I don't like the whole progression system stuff in multiplayer games sometimes for PvP, mostly because I think it does tend to some situations that can occur in certain games, like a game like that where you've got a class-based system and every class has access to different weapons, and I feel like some of the weapons are kind of objectively better than the starting ones, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't feel it should be. I don't mind, like Call of Duty, it's fine, because for me, Call of Duty, when playing Call of Duty games that when I used to play them, the unlocking in that, there was always a good gun, no matter what level you were, that you could get used to. But when you've got like an unlocking system in a game that's like a bit more granular, where each player is a different like set class, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then it becomes a bit of a problem, in my opinion, because only each class has certain weapons. But then the weapon I want for my class, I don't get to like 26, but I get all these weapons for other classes I don't play, for example.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I mean, I haven't bothered with multiplayer game or versus games for a long time. But once again, the old faithful I go back to in Elite Dangerous. They had a really fantastic, in my opinion, PvP area called Arena. And these were just the smallest ships in the game, completely possible, with some of the weakest weapons. And you were just dumped into a part of space and you shot the shit out of each other. Now, this area got completely banned by the developers early on because no one played it. But the reason is because the other game was so immersive, people were playing that. And the only time people went over to Arena was a bit later on when they realised, I've done quite a lot over here. What's this about? Because all my other rankings are maxed out and I've got one that isn't. What's this one that isn't? Oh, it's this game here. And all of a sudden, Arena became better. But here's the thing. You could have had the best ships in the game. Billions and billions of credits. You could take out fleets of people in just your smaller ship in the main game. You came into Arena, no matter who you were, you started off with the basic. And that was it. And you never really got anything major from that. You got a load of new ships, but I say they're all very similar ships, and then you got a load of weapons and armors to put on them.
Yeah.
But the great thing about it is that no matter if you started day one playing Arena against people, or you were playing 5 years later against people that have been playing that whole time, if you were a good enough pilot, the ship you were given right at the back with the autocannons, you get points. You know?
Oh,
you're going to have a chance. I like that sort of a progression system where that sort of stuff it's separate, because otherwise people that play certain games a lot are always going to beast it out.
Oh, yeah.
World of Warcraft is a great example of that. There is no way someone that starts out a game today and plays for a year is going to be able to walk out into the battlegrounds and hold their own against a 10-year veteran.
No, there isn't.
They're going to get their head cut straight off. You know?
I know what you mean. It's just it's one of them things. I think in class-based games, it's better if it's multiplayer versus with classes. I think it's better to make the progression customization stuff, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in for example, stuff like Space Marine, in my opinion, I think the versus modes shouldn't be, the whole. Shouldn't be like the stuff that's the competitive side of things should be like you start with everything instead.
Yeah, to some extent, and then you can make those little things better. But yeah, you get to build your start out basically the way you want.
Yeah, because otherwise you kind of get in points where Tier 2 is not as much of a problem because basically in my opinion, the best weapons in Tier 2 half time are the basic weapons you start with.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I think a point system has always been better where you can then put your points into what you like.
Yeah, I'll agree with that 100%.
That always seems to make more sense to me. I mean, it's kind of what I liked a little bit of. I can't remember which one of the Elder Scrolls it was, but you could basically you would use a spell. Yeah, it was Elder. I think it was. I think it was Skyrim. You'd use a spell and that would level it up. But also, as you leveled up, you've got the ability to just use points anyway. So you're like, well, I'm going to get you in fire magic. That's going to level that shit up. But I actually want to start sorting out my armor over here, so I'm going to dump the points into the armor. But in the meantime, I'm going to kill chickens over here with fireballs.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. It's Skyrim from it. Skyrim it is the Elder Scrolls games because that's the way their thingy mechanics work. It's all about.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was that or the first Dragon's Dogma. I know it's one of the two.
It's Elder Scrolls because it's the way their leveling mechanic works in the Elder Scrolls.
Oh, great set of games. But yeah, anyway, so.
But yeah.
Agatha all along. So after they meet Billy.
Well, at the reveal of that, I also love the fact that I was like the way that we finally get the reveal of who he is, though, in that bit in the new scene is so good.
Yes.
But the fact that we meet Billy as the first thing we meet Billy is him breaking into her house.
Yes.
And then she goes on a chase after him, which I'm wondering, considering the fact that she chased him, was she just chasing him around the house? Because as we know, everything that she's been doing has just been on her property.
Yeah, not only do we know that she was only chasing him around the house, because we know that she couldn't have taken him to the police station because the entire interrogation was done in her living room, because he points out the actual mirror is actually her picture.
Yep.
And then when the prison cell that he's locked up in is her cupboard.
Yes. Why do you keep looking at that picture? What? It's not a picture. It's just like, yeah, it is.
That's it. I mean, I thought it was so well done, and it confused. And I say, it's if you actually watch the people online, like the big TV, like the ones that break this shit down all the time, it's confused the fuck out of all of them. And I'm looking at it going, this seems to me, this is the most simple thing. Well, it's the last part of the hex. You're gonna have to like Wanda made you live out these weird little fantasies you made her. Or you were involved in her living out. You know, that's why you've gone through all these eras. Each time, and that's just saying, you're living a TV show. And you keep doing these weird little things.
Yeah, it was so well done though. Because if you notice, it went. I did love the little subtle nod to the WandaVision bit though, when she's finally breaking out of it with, He
goes through the stages of all the costumes. Yeah,
of all the costumes of each episode from WandaVision, and I'm like, that was a well played. That was a well done scene.
Very well done. All of it is very well done in my opinion. So far.
Catherine Hagen's a name? I think that's how you say a name. Or Hagen, sorry. The one that's playing Agatha is just such a good actress. She's really good.
Like I said, I've got no problem with anything.
No. I've also loved all the different witches as well. Well, you have got one problem. You're not happy that they haven't done the comic accurate version of the.
Okay, so for a start, I mean, we're still in the first episode, and these characters don't pop up yet. So, no. I mean,
well,
so far, no problems.
No. So far, it's absolutely adorable. It's actually brilliant. It's because we get the first episode of her breaking the hex, and also Marvel's first proper full nude scene.
Yeah.
Because she's fucking. I love it. Because she's just completely fucking naked. Just walks out in the street.
And tries to get in shit, and they give her a COVID, and she's like, nope.
I love it though, it's so funny. It's just the fact that she just walks out nonchalantly, completely fucking naked. And you're just like, well, I was not expecting that.
One thing we did find out though in this episode, and confirmed in the next episode, is that I can never remember her name, the blonde woman from One Division, who everyone thought was going to be another witch that was there, was not a witch. In fact, it ended up weirdly enough being the next person who actually had magic in that place was Mrs. Hart.
No. If you pay attention, no, she doesn't have any. She doesn't have any magic. It wasn't Mrs. Hart. It's because she refuses to get the person that it is. That's the problem.
Now,
she refuses to get her because the last thing was another red herring to fans who were thinking they were going to gender swap a certain other character.
Well, no. So here's the thing. I kind of thought along your lines here originally, and I'm going to say my wife Beth has convinced me otherwise. Because she went, well, maybe because the green magic is meant to be the earth magic. She's literally gone to the person who has at least some ability with her inside her, because otherwise if she didn't have some magic inside her, she wouldn't have been able to open up the door, because you needed that magic to do that. They said it was the most important one to get the door open. So and they said they needed a magic.
I have a feeling that it wasn't that. I have a feeling that it was a certain someone running down the stairs that opened it. Yeah, maybe. But here's the problem with that. Here's my only problem is that they have specifically pointed out the colours of magic, and being important for their colours. Mm-hmm.
And his was specifically blue.
Yep. Which, have you noticed that? I don't think any of them have had blue. Any of the others have had blue magic.
We haven't seen the others fully power up yet. Yeah. We've seen orange, and I think we've seen yellow.
We've seen orange, yellow, and purple and red.
Well, purple is Agatha's. Red was who's red?
Scarlet Witch. Wonders was red. Dark magic is red.
I was talking specifically about in this.
I was about in the total of all of the magic we've seen in the MCU. We have seen Strange's green magic and purple magic and every colour magic, because Strange just can cast basically anything.
Yeah.
We've seen Agatha's purple magic, Wanda's red magic, his blue magic. But seriously, this show it was just like, it feels...
Hela wielded green magic because she's actually a sorceress. And so does Loki.
Yeah, Hela. So green magic is trickery. If we go off magic.
Because this is weirdly enough then quite interesting, because One Division has literally related it as life magic.
Yeah.
It brings so that's quite interesting. Chaos and life, maybe.
Well, think about life and death.
Why would Lady Death have it? That's a very good interest, and Hela being the goddess of death. That's very interesting. Yeah, okay.
Life and death. They are 2 points. It's like, for example, one of my favourite franchises, 40k. The god Nurgle is the god of decay and plague, and in death springs new life. Because from the rotting corpse springs flies.
Yeah. So you've got that at least. So I assume that she had at least some ability within her.
Possibly, but I don't think she was a witch herself. I think you might be right in that she had the potential, but she didn't. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, no, I thought it was going to be. I can't remember the actress's name or the character's name, but yeah, the blonde.
Mrs. Hart or Sharon. And she's actually called, remember?
Yeah.
I love the fact that no, my name was Sharon. Oh.
But yeah, so we've had some fun ones, and we've had, like I say, and we've found out that Audrey Carver is Lady Death, which is something I did pick up on quite early on.
Oh yeah.
Quite cool.
Well, I think that I love the subtle way that they were basically teasing people and tricking people to try and get them to think that she was who a lot of people have been thinking. Oh, they just gender swap Blackheart, the son of Mephisto, to his daughter. And I genuinely like the way they did this sort of trick of that with the fact that in the first episode she goes, "My heart is black and full of ice." Yeah. When Agatha tells us she doesn't have a heart, I have a heart. It's just black and full of ice.
But but in particular, the reason I like this, like her being Lady Death, is as we mentioned before. This is that.
Oh, yeah. We now have the original comic reason. We have the character that is the comic reason for Thanos finding the fucking Infinity Stones in the first place. Yeah,
but so we've just had Deadpool now enter the Marvel universe, which is someone that Lady Death has a thing for,
an absolute obsession with, because she can never be with him.
But also, we now know that Thanos is coming back in the movies, and we now have Lady Death as well. So I'm wondering if it is going to be a multiverse.
Do we have official confirmation that we're getting Josh Brolin back as Thanos?
I never said that.
Because
I said we were getting Thanos back. They have said Thanos is coming back.
Yeah, well, the only person that can really I think that can do him justice if they bring him back is Josh Brolin, unfortunately. Which would be the perfect thing, since we have got it confirmed that Deadpool and Wolverine are going to be back in, during the two Avengers movies, which basically would allow them to make the joke that he made to fucking Cable. Because remember, he called straight up when Fox did it. They straight up called Cable Thanos, just because of the fact that they were making fun of it. I do love that Kevin had to tell the Disney execs though, no, Deadpool needs to make fun of us. Why? Because that's what he would do. It's not Deadpool unless he's making fun of the studio that owns him. It's just kind of fact.
He's gonna take the mick out of everyone. It's gonna be jibe after jibe. I still find I think the cocaine stuff was fucking.
We can't say it. That's just saying all the names for it. I still love the fact that I still love the scene that from the trailer that was still in that was kept in the show of just when the TVA show up for him.
Yeah, the pegging one.
The pegging one of just going. Peggy might be new for Disney, but it isn't new for me. God damn it!
Just so funny. One of my favourite scenes is the because it's one of those scenes in a film where anyone that's not seen that film yet, they might have seen other films in this franchise or whatever, but it's a line that's when it's said, you see the jaws drop of the people that have just heard it, and then the laughter. And there's very few lines like it. But the one in particular is when they're in the car with the family. He's in the car with the family, and he's like, children, they're a wonder. I've always wanted them. I wanted them, but we can't conceive the way we have sex. And it's basically he gets fucked up the house joke, and it is so funny. And every time I've seen it with someone that hasn't seen the film before, they're like. The only other joke I know in TV, at least, that does it every single time, is a show called Drawn Together, in which it's about
I've seen Drawn Together.
Have you seen Drawn Together? You know it's copyright infringement versions of characters we all know and love.
Oh yeah, I know. Including totally not gay Link. I have a girlfriend. No, you don't, Link. No, you don't.
When Gay Link finally comes out, it's hilarious.
I know. I love that show. I love that show. It was so funny.
I'm so glad because I know so few people that I haven't shown it to that have actually seen it. Have you seen the movie that finally rounded it off?
I have not
seen the film.
There is
actually a movie. There is a film. that finally rounds it all up. It's fucking hilarious. It is basically a Chippendale Rescue Rangers movie before Chippendale's Rescue Rangers movie.
What then brought into the real world?
Just watch it. It's
I absolutely loved, by the way, the Chippendale Rescue Rangers movie because we got to see Ugly Sonic again.
I fucking loved it. It was great. But no, so in this particular episode, we're on together.
Also, the fact that I love the fact they made the joke of CGI being an upgrade.
Yeah.
It was like
the upgrade. And it's when they get the weird bits added to it.
I know, it was brilliant. I was like, this is a good, this. It was like, as someone who grew up watching some of that cartoon, it was this is how you appeal to my nostalgia. That and the amount of freaking references in that film to certain other films that were made in a similar style, of including a certain rabbit, and I'm like, wait a minute, that isn't who I think it is it? It's like, oh shit, that's who I think it was.
Yeah.
I loved it because it was so funny.
It was very, very good. It did its job very well. But yeah. But no, so yeah, like I say, there were certain jokes out there that just make you stop. And yeah, you should definitely watch that film. It's particularly good. The only other thing that you should definitely look out for then, if you like that, was a show called Super Jow, which is just absolutely psychotic. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of shows that are absolute that I think need, you know, just genuinely need to be like either brought back or like, I mean, Futurama got revived again, obviously, like, and has gotten 2 seasons so far, and I'm like, this was a smart move, giving Matt his, like, you know, adult show back, basically, because The Simpsons might not be for kids. It's technically for teenagers and adults, but sometimes
with the new news that's just come out this week, last week, I think we're actually not going to see Futurama disappear for quite a while.
I was doing the Simpsons news.
Yeah, Matt Groening announced pretty much out of the blue that there is going to be no more Simpsons.
I was doing the Simpsons finale.
Yeah, it's done. It's gone. That's it. No more.
Have you watched it?
No.
It's a joke.
Is it really?
The episode is not a joke since it's a bad episode, as in the whole episode's a joke. That's kind of the point of it.
So it isn't going to be cancelled. So it isn't cancelled then.
It's the finale is essentially, yeah, we're going to stop the show for a bit, but we know full well it's going to get brought back at some point because we know.
Oh right, yeah. Well, what it is so far, it is going to be the end.
I believe for now I think what it is, it's to give the cast like a rest because they have done that show for so many years, and it's, you know.
You got to remember it's that, but the other big problem that Matt Groening has had is every other thing that he's tried to create has been removed from viewership because of The Simpsons. So Futurama kept getting taken down because it was taking over viewership in time stage.
The worst part about that was Fox kept doing that, and it's like, guys, you realise that there's space for both shows to exist.
Yeah, but they did it to Family Guy as well. Only Family Guy became too popular for them to keep doing it too.
Oh yeah.
But then on the other side of it was then when he came out with Disenchanted, he couldn't take it to anyone else on TV, so it had to go to Netflix.
And then Netflix is famous for cancelling shit every so often because they're stupid, because they're fucking annoying. And I'm like, so a show that I want to talk about as a gamer, somebody plays games. So I really want to talk about a show that I absolutely love. That I literally binge watched the entire series tonight after I decided to. Oh, it's out! I didn't realize it was out, and I was like, because I don't usually go on Netflix anymore.
Yeah.
Normally, if I want to look at seeing stuff's coming out, I go on Amazon. I surprisingly have found myself going on Amazon Prime more and going on Disney Plus more, because I'm more in touch with the Marvel shit and the Star Wars stuff. That generally I'm up to date when those shows are coming out, whereas Netflix's stuff coming out I don't really pay attention to anymore. If that makes sense.
Also, you've got my Amazon, so you can watch all my movies.
You got your what?
I said you've got my Amazon, so you can watch all my movies.
Oh yeah. On my, you know the only films I have on my Amazon, by the way, that I have on my actual one that I bought: Bugsy Malone, Rock of Ages, and Jurassic World Dominion.
That's a collection, I guess.
No, it's because I don't buy things on Amazon mostly. Sorry.
No.
Oh, that and every single season of Law and Order Special Victims Unit, because I started watching like the first season as this looks interesting. I'll buy like a few episodes, and then bought the season, and then kind of kept buying every season after I finished the season immediately. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I started doing something very similar with The Flash. I was watching it with a friend,
and then it's like you're just watching it, and then it's like, I want to watch what happens next. I want to see what happens next.
Well, yeah, no, we were getting really into it, but she ended up due to university and stuff. She ended up getting really busy, couldn't carry on. So we sort of stopped, and then we watched some other bits because Mandalorian, and it just sort of got put to the wayside. Yeah. And then so I really had no reason to watch it, and you were like, "Oh, I'm watching it," but the thing I'm watching it on, just stopped doing it. I was like, "Motherfucker, I'm gonna have to keep buying these things now."
The thing I'm watching it on is unfortunately not got the last 3 seasons on it, which I genuinely did enjoy the last 3 seasons. I agree with you that season 7 should have been where it ended, because that did feel like an actual end.
Yeah.
But but at the same time, I'm kind of glad that it carried on for 2 more seasons, if that makes sense. Mostly because I think Grant Gustin is just awesome, and I genuinely loved Grant Gustin as the Flash. Like,
I may not have liked the last 2 seasons as much, but at the end of the day, I still got more Flash, and I was quite happy with that.
Yeah, that's just the main thing, and it's also they weren't a significant, like, if you know what I mean, like an absolutely terrible drop in quality versus the other 2 seasons, the rest of it. They were still fairly decent. It's just that unfortunately, it did feel it's because season 7 ended so well that I think the other 2 seasons don't. If you know what I mean, hit us.
COVID issues. Yeah, the COVID issue for 1 season.
Yeah. But I will admit, I think when it did end again in season 9, like for real, I think it ended perfectly with, basically the last episode being the birth of, Nora at the start.
Yeah.
I think that was the best way to end it, of having the final episode being, the birth of
yes.
The kids.
It's kind of how it should have been, yeah.
That was... I think that if they'd ended it on season 7, I'd have been happy. But I think I would have still been like, I kind of wanted to see Nora get born. But then,
I kind of would. I would have liked, though. I still think the thing with Grant Gustin is he wants to do other stuff, like a lot of these guys.
Oh yeah.
With the Flash in particular, you have, because of the law, you had a fantastic opportunity to actually give Grant Gustin a couple of years off.
Yeah. And give Wally the spotlight for a bit.
Give Wally West the spotlight. Wally West the spotlight for a bit. He becomes the Flash, and then you bring back Grant Gustin, and then you finish off the entire season as a whole with the Flash family, exactly the way they did. That would have been fine. I think they would have actually got more viewers doing that, because I think they would have actually brought some more people back from when it was at its prime, because it hadn't been. I mean, it was losing viewership, not by anything major, but I think it would have brought more people back with a bit of a change.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to. As I say, I'm not going to say the series was it was not. As I say, it's not a perfect show. I enjoyed it because I just generally enjoyed I will say this, as you know me, the DC is like my least. Marvel and DC, I don't really like. I don't really like most DC characters because I find a lot of them to be kind of boring for me personally. Like, the only reason I like Batman is because I grew up watching the animated series of Batman, and that was the thing. And the only character in Justice League cartoon that I watched when I was younger that I generally liked was the Flash, because just the amount of jokes that came up in that show, and mostly at his expense. But it was the fact that it's the Flash and he's kind of cool. And then I started watching that show, and I was like, And I've realised the only reason I like the Flash is because the Flash is essentially the DC equivalent of Peter Parker. Yeah. Shit goes to hell for him constantly, and he maintains the happy-go-lucky personality, and he doesn't let it get him down. He literally is still quick for the bad guys. He's that annoying hero that just makes jokes while fighting you. He's not the.
He's usually the heart of the group.
Yeah, and I think that's why I genuinely. It's probably the reason why I like the Flash, one of the few DC characters I like. It's because plus all of his villains. Like, I love that so many of his villains know who the fuck he is. So it's like, by the end of that series, I realised that almost every one of his villains knows who he is. The only reason Central City doesn't know is that everyone in that city knows you don't reveal the Flash's identity.
Well, so there's a great, in the Injustice books, there is actually a great scene where Bias... bloody hell, Nick Rory and I believe Mirror Master both get killed by Superman, and they're at the funeral, and it's this underground bar and they're all hidden, and the Flash turns up, and Snart's like, "Are you sure you're welcome here?" He's like, "I'm not here. I know I'm with Superman, but rules are rules and respect is respect. You guys never killed anyone. That was your role. You may have hurt people, you never killed anyone." And I don't believe what was said about you. But saying that, I'm here if you let me to sort of pay respect. And they sit there and have a couple of drinks together just talking about like, back in the day. But they're talking to each other as Len, Snart and Barry, not as Flash and Captain Cold. Yeah. And they're talking to each other like that in the bar. And then Flash just walks away.
Yeah, well, it's like what's the? It's just, I think it's just the cartoons. Like, there's literally a scene in that cartoon where they're hunting for someone, and one of Barry's villains is inside a pub in his costume, and the other guys, or I think it was mad in the old Flash cartoon, but I can't remember which show it was from. But I remember seeing it. It's just where he has a chat with the villain and just goes, "You're wearing the suit again. Go back to. I'll turn myself. You caught me again, Flash. I'll turn it." And literally, it's like. And the other guy's like, "Aren't you going to arrest him or like take him to the police?" I'm like, "Why would I?"
So yeah, it's Justice League Unlimited, and it's Barry Allen and Green Lantern in a bar.
Oh, yeah, it's the second Green Lantern because it's not Hal in that; it's the other one. It's just forgot his name. It's I want to say John. I almost want to say John Johnson. That's Martian Manhunter's name.
No, it's John.
It's John Summer. I don't remember. I don't know the second Green Lantern's name as much because I don't really. I don't. The Green Lanterns are cool, but I've never really like.
No, I do. What's worse is I actually do really like it, and I have his first issue, and it's really annoying, and it's on the tip of my tongue, and I'll get it in a minute. But yeah, so yeah, it's those two. They're in. It's just after the fact they found out that the Themyscirians are actually aliens, and Shiara was a double agent, and he's pissed off, and they're having a drink at the bar, and yeah, the trickster voiced by Mark Hamill.
Oh yeah, I love the fact that he even played him live action as well.
Yeah, played him in live action.
I love that bit. They got Mark Hamill to play him, and I'm like, wait a minute, I know that voice. Because when you first meet him, you don't see his face, you just hear his voice. And I'm like, yeah, I know that voice.
Well, Mark Hamill played the trickster in the John Wesley Shipp original live-action show as the proper trickster, and then in the Flash as part of Earth 2 as a version of that trickster, but a lot more psychopathic, but with a son.
I love that they got. I love how many. So I'll admit I never watched the original series, but I did not realise until we got to, Crisis on Infinite Earth, that the guy that's been playing his father the entire time, because I'd never seen the original show, was actually the Flash from the original show until after that point. I will admit this, because I've never seen the original one. Because
I watched. I think it was on Channel 4. I watched that as a kid.
I think it's because for me. Being younger than you, like it wasn't on the TV when I was a kid. I think I do have memories of watching the Lou Ferrigno show with Lou Ferrigno as a whole.
That was constantly on though, yeah.
Yeah, but that was because it was constantly on, and honestly, I think it's because it's a TV classic that they just constantly put that show on.
We got this in. It was a few years after Power Rangers, so I think about 95, 96 we got.
Yeah, so I was about 95, 96. I was about 2 or 3. So it was before. It was while I was like tiny child.
Yeah, and it was. I remember it was very good. But that was what was quite funny when I watched it, because watching all the DC shows at that time. Well, not all of them, I guess, but in a couple, like Supergirl, for example, their parents all seemed to be played by characters that had played the role previously. So Kara's mum was Supergirl from the Christopher Reeve era.
Oh, I know. I know. I noticed that when I was watching when I was watching an episode of Supergirl, the first the episode with when she gets her actual mum, and I'm like, wait a minute, is that? No.
So that Flash was very far. So when he was playing his dad, I was like, that's quite funny, because he's now a weird connection for all of it. But then when
he shows up as Barry Allen, and I'm like,
no, it's when he showed up as Jay Garrick.
Oh no, I like that bit.
As original Flash, that made my jaw drop, because that was like, that's fantastic. And then when we got to Crisis, and he turns up, he looks at John Diggle and says, "Where's your ring?" Because he's meant. Fuck, I can't remember his name. He's like, because weirdly enough, there is an episode where Winston Zedmore, I can't remember his name right now. He plays John Diggle's stepdad, and his name is on that thing. And when you combine the two names together, it makes the names of the Green Lantern. And so, like, from then, everyone's like, "Oh fuck me, that's John." And yeah, so that's why in Green Arrow, for ages, people were like, he's a Green Lantern, because the hints were there from the very beginning. But yeah, so we had that, and then we had that sacrifice. But what got me with the sacrifice is that you got a flashback to show for people like me.
Oh yeah, that was fun. That's why I was like, I didn't realize until that scene when it flashed back to that bit, and I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that like an old the old Flash show? And I'm like, oh shit, that's the original Barry Allen. And I'm like, oops.
Yeah, and you actually get his life, but then for also people like you then realise that it is part of this weird multiverse where certain people are used the same, because he's basically his Caitlin Frost is it was the doctor that worked out how they've been helping him for years, worked out how the tachyons worked, the time travel, because she originally got killed, remember, by Harrison Wells.
Yep,
it's the same actress. And yeah, it's so all these things are great throwbacks, and that was just a beautiful thing.
Tom Cavanagh is still my favourite actor in that show, by the way. He's still one of my favourite actors in that show.
He's very good. But did you ever had a chance to actually go back and watch that Flash series?
No, I haven't had a chance to watch that series.
So, please try if you can. If I can, I'll find links to it, because it's not easily available. But the first episode is actually a made-for-TV movie, 90 minutes long.
Oh, is it like when they did a lot of them in the past, where they made them like shows in the past where they just made them straight up? Oh yeah, this show is straight up we're going to make the pilot an hour long, like 2 hours long, basically. And
then it gets cut up,
Yeah.
Now, the best way to watch it is actually with the movie, not the cut up version, because the movie adds a couple of extra scenes.
Yeah, but the bits where they cut, there'll be the scenes they cut to make the advert sections, because the major difference between US TV and America, well, not all of US TV, but major between a lot of networks and some certain British networks is that most other networks have adverts like between shows. They split shows up by adverts, and they have to make the cuts make sense. So they have to like.
Well, anyway, in this one in particular, this is true in both versions, but you actually get to see it quite a bit in the movie version. In this one, it's not Barry Allen's mum that dies. Barry Allen's dad is a police officer and is killed by a group of bikers. And Barry Allen is already almost an adult forensic scientist when all this occurs and gets his powers. I liked it. I thought it was very good. They hit quite a lot of flash beats, including a reverse flash. Well, it wasn't a reverse flash; it was an opposite flash.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it was also it was made during the 90s, which means it was a bit. I want to say, because a lot of 90s shows felt like it. It was a little bit slightly trying to be edgy, but without being edgy. If you know what I mean.
No, not at all. No. The movie was a little bit with that scene in particular, but after that, not so much. The only time it really got kind of it was mostly comedy edginess, kind of almost not like I can't say.
I'm not about dark as in what we consider edgy today. I mean like the 90s version of Edge, where it was like we're being a bit comedy, we're being a bit, yes, a bit out there and stuff.
Yes and no. I mean it was not. I don't think it. No, I mean it wasn't the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live action. Let's put it this way. It was.
Hey, if you saw those movies, I will stab you in your sleep again.
No. The movies I like. I even like. I'll explain what I mean in a second. The best way to consider what this Flash series was like is the Dean Cain Superman.
Is that Superman Returns?
No. Dean Cain Superman was the New Adventures of Superman and Lois.
Oh, the TV show series.
TV show. That's the sort of feel you got from the Flash TV show. So not really. I wouldn't call that edgy in any way. It was just. It is what it is.
Just a little bit campy.
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. Exactly. But yeah, it was very, very good. What I meant by the live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was there was a TV series called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles: The Next Mutation. It was a live action TV series made by Bandai. It was made by Bandai. It had a Power Rangers crossover. And it was particularly.
Is that the show that I keep seeing images of an episode where there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Power Rangers side by side?
Yes. This is one in particular where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles find out that they actually had a long lost sister called Venus de Milo, and they find her in the first episode. And yes, she is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle with breasts.
Because it's the 90s and breasts, and it has to have. You can't need to know it's a woman. It has to have tits.
No, because it was the 90s, and they said we need a really kick-ass female character in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That is true.
The funny thing is an anime. They did it in the animated show as well. In one of the animated shows, they find like a long lost. But it's the best bit is she's not their sister in that one. At least she's just another turtle that had happened to unfortunately get fallen in the ooze.
So when people talk about things going woke or diversity in the modern era, I do like to point out that they put a female turtle with boobs into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because there was too many boy turtles.
Yeah, there's too many guys. There's too many sausages in this turtle show.
Yeah, and as soon as they've all got cloacas, that is weird. It's so yeah.
Hey, at least they didn't try the fucking incest storyline in that show.
Now, I will say, as awful as it is, I freaking enjoy New Mutation, but it is awful.
Oh yeah. Fair. We got on this. We got completely off track of what I was actually going to talk about because we got distracted. So the actual, as someone who plays like a lot of games, and in the 90s, like first console I had was I will admit, didn't have a Sega Dreamcast or like consoles before that, or like the Nintendo 64. I had a PlayStation 1.
Yep.
And one of the very earliest core memories I have of playing video games on the PlayStation 1 is playing Tomb Raider.
Yep.
And I love those games. I played every single Tomb Raider game in the franchise, and I really want another one. I'm also incredibly excited because a certain game is being brought back this year, finally getting a remaster. But I'll talk about that one in a minute because I do need to get off my chest of how excited I am for a game that comes out in December, even though it's a game that is from like the early 2000s, 90s, and is straight up. The game is straight up a like. It's going to be very dated looking, but I will sit and play that game for hours when I get it. But the Tomb Raider animated series that came out on Netflix over the last week or so, right? I have watched every episode. I've got to hope that Netflix lets them make a second season at least, because it's, from what I've read, from what Crystal Dynamics has done with this episode, teamed up to do, is it's to bridge the gap between the reboot for games, the Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
And Tomb Raider 1.
Okay.
The series meant to bridge the gap between the beginning of the first game and the reboots, and it very much does. Like, are you going to watch it? Because I really want to spoil things, and it's really.
I'm probably going to watch it, but I'm fine for spoilers because I know most of it.
So,
I'm a little wise.
Yeah, well, the thing is that in this one, there basically she's searching for 4 artifacts that are basically like Shadow Tomb Raider. She's searching for a bunch of artifacts that she needs to find because she needs to stop this dude that basically has a similar trauma, similar trauma to her, where her father was killed by Trinity and everything, and his father was killed by an organization called The Light, who are a secret organization in Paris. Basically,
yeah.
Trying to stop him from. I'm simplifying it in the point where he's trying to find these artifacts that are called the Peril Stones, but they're like a Chinese creation myth, basically, of 4 stones that are basically the evils of humanity that was overwhelming humanity. So a goddess took them out of humans, basically, and separated them into 4 stones inside, and then locked them away at 4 corners of the world, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So he's searching for them, she's searching for them, and the opening opens up. The opening sequence of the show is set before Tomb Raider, like the first of the reboots.
Yeah,
because it's young Lara and Roth who is in the Tomb Raider game. Because if you play, I'm guessing you've played the Tomb Raider, the 3 reboots.
Yes.
Yeah, Roth who dies during the game.
I've played the first reboot.
The first, it's stuff that happens in the first one.
Okay, cool.
Because most of this is centered on the trauma that she suffered from the first, from the games, basically, and the beginning of. Because the thing I like in it is there's she's finding all these artifacts, going after these stones. This dude basically gets the first stone, which allows him to basically control people's minds and make them do what he wants. Basically, the Stone of Power. It's basically their Infinity Gems, if I was to dumb it down. That's what they are. They're essentially just Infinity Gems. Power, greed, wrath, and the last one being... So, greed's the last one. Power, wrath, and there's... I forgot... I think it's the Wealth Stone, basically. Okay. Oh no, the Stone of Betrayal, basically. It's basically, and it's the whole point of it is that he wants the stones because he wants to destroy the light, get rid of them because they killed his father when he was a kid, all because his father was a pastor who said no when they asked him to sell the church because the church was built over a. And by the way, the lights of the Knight Templar are the Knight Templar. They're an offshoot of the Knights Templar, basically. That worship Baphomet.
That's a bit different.
But the thing that I loved is that every bit of it like felt like bits from the reboot games and stuff, like various scenes doing like it felt like you were watching a Tomb Raider playthrough a little bit, but in animated form as an actual. You basically felt like you were watching a Tomb Raider game being played out. And also Hayley Atwell as Lara Croft is definitely a plus. I don't think you can disagree with me on that one.
Yeah, she's alright, I guess.
Yeah, because it's not like it's. I mean, her voice acting is really on point.
Hayley Atwell is what else did she do? She did something else, didn't she? Quite big.
It's Peggy. It's Captain
Yes.
Carter.
Yeah. I knew the name on the very up.
Hayley Atwell's cat is Peggy, Captain Carter, aka the only reason Steve Rogers stayed in the past.
Don't blame him.
No one blames him. But yeah, it's so good. It's like it feels. It felt like a love letter to Tomb Raider fans, and I think it's because Chris and Amick were involved in it. And I feel like these animated adaptations of video game stuff are really doing well because it's a medium where you can do stuff. You can animate the sort of shit that you would see in video games, where in live action it's kind of hard to translate the stuff. But I also feel like Sonic. I think the fact that the Sonic, why the Sonic movies I think do so well. 2 reasons, right?
Good.
Reason 1. Because they listened to the fans and redesigned Sonic after, the abysmal first version of him.
Yeah.
And 2, because they don't straight up just go, oh yeah, we're going to just take a plot of the game and follow that. We're going to make an original story with the character. If you know what I mean. Yeah. And I think that's why I generally, despite how not like the actual games they are, I like the Resident Evil movies. I will fully admit that I love the Resident Evil films.
Oh, look, I'm a zombie fan. I love zombie films. I love the worst zombie films. I love the best zombie films. And they're an enjoyable team of films. And people forget how many of them are in that lineup.
Oh yeah,
it's awesome.
I love the animated ones more because they're part of the actual canon of the franchise. But the live action ones with Mila Jovovich, I love because any excuse to watch Mila Jovovich in a movie, I will take up. I think I may or may not love that actress because she's just genuinely like really good. Plus, it is just straight up a husband just going, I want my wife to just do some really cool shit. That's basically what those movies are, and I'm all for it because those movies are essentially him doing. Look, see how badass my wife is. That's basically what it feels like. Because
I mean, look, they're a multiverse version of Resident Evil games. They're not meant to be a complete representation of the stories.
It's why I get. It's one of the things with video game movies. I'm like, I don't get why people want them just to remake the story of the game with a video game movie. I just don't understand it because it's not going to hit you the same as if you make an original story but use that universe. Example, Fallout.
Oh, don't get me wrong. If you did a really good found footage horror version of the first game and a great sort of Dawn of the Dead style horror of the second game in film, you'd make so much money. I really honestly believe that. I think both the scripts on those 2 games are good enough for those kind of movies to make money. And I'd love to see them, honestly. But like I said, what we've got, I mean, it doesn't need to be live action. I'd love to see them animated as well. I mean, animated might be better. But like I say, those live action ones with Mila Jovovich are great. They're enjoyable. First one has a fantastic album.
Oh yeah, it does, and it's one of those things. It's just
on this.
But like watching the Tomb Raider thing, it was so fun because it's like, this plot, save the world. It's like, yep, this is typical Lara Croft, Tomb Raider game, like one of the like this typical plot of one of like Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's like the plot of the actual like a normal of the newer, not the newer ones, but the older style ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That culminates in him getting all the artifacts, obviously because it's the bad guy. He has to get all the bad things, otherwise, the plot can't progress. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. Not for lack of trying to stop him. But the thing I liked is we got characters in it that have been introduced in all the games, like through some of the games, if you know what I mean. Like Lara's friends and stuff that have been introduced in various different games when they talk about her.
Yeah.
And stuff. And I genuinely liked it because it was like we got Jonah from the game, we got Sam, we got Abby from like some of the games. We got Zip and all the these characters that have been introduced in the reboot franchise, and some of them that were also in the not Tomb Raider Anniversary, but the one that came after Tomb Raider Anniversary. That was meant to be like a sequel to the whole thing, basically after Tomb Raider Legends, Tomb Raider Underworlds, the like characters introduced in that. And it was like, we got characters introduced from these various different stuff that have now been introduced into the franchise for, themselves, rather than having it where it's always been of, it's just Lara and, on her own, she's got no backup, you know what I mean? But, like, the story is basically her overcoming the trauma and realising that she doesn't need to be like a father or like Roth from, the first game, from Tomb Raider. She needs to realise that it's her friends that make basically the thing that makes her different from them that'll stop her basically getting killed is she needs to realise that she has these people that are actually there to help her and stop trying to do everything on her own. But which is it's a story of friendship, which is technically the story that everything, let's be honest. But it was right before they go to do the final bit when they're going to like the last episode is basically them going to they're taking the thing off the bad guy and they've got to go take it back to where they were created in order to restore balance and save the world. Yeah. To which they go to Kunlun.
No, that sounds familiar.
Of course it does. It's from Chinese. It's fucking Chinese mythology, aka, and also was also used by Marvel as the basis for a certain superhero.
Oh yes, the Mandarin.
But also, it's what I find hilarious though is they go to Kunlun, which is the home of the gods. Yeah. And doing so, during one of the opening scenes of the area, we see a tiger with 3 tails, just with its young, watching them. Oh, and a pterodon just flies past. To which I was like, please tell me we're...
Dinosaur Kingdom from the...
Just please tell me... I was like, please tell me we're going to get to see Lara fight the one thing that everyone wants to watch her fight. Because, let's be honest, we need an explanation for why there is a T-Rex tooth in her house before Tomb Raider 1 even started.
Well, I mean, she was meant to be an archaeologist, so it's not unexpected that she
but it's the
would
fact,
have one.
No, but it's like to which goes through all the trials. We get Jonah fighting a bear. Jonah has to fight a bear basically, and she goes to the final trial. We see the typical thing of Tomb Raider where you have magic as well as
mysticism and science.
Which I quite like. And we all know that a lot of the mysticism in the Tomb Raider universe technically is the Atlanteans, the people that came before the humans, because that's what we find out in the you find out in Underworld and the original game. But it's when they're coming out and then they're leaving, after fixing everything, and they're on their way back, and you just hear the thundering in thunder before it even ends, before they go away. Guess what she finally gets that she's not had in any of the video games yet. But that finally completes the outfit. That she's
pair of trousers.
No. The holsters and her pistols. She finally gets the damn because the whole show she's been using a bow and arrow. To match from the reboot game. And it's the signal that she's finally figured out who she is, because at the end of she's finally figured out who she is, and and there's the iconic pistols being given to it before they go on the final mission. And then coming thundering out at the end of the show, just because they're like, yeah, we're going to prove to you that this is definitely linking to the original, but coming thundering out of the freaking trees, a fucking T-Rex. It's like, oh yes. And the whole final bit of the show, like the last, like, you know, sequence before, you know, like the ending of it, is them fighting a T-Rex. And I'm like, straight up taking it out, like she does, like you have to do in Tomb Raider Anniversary. By shooting it in the fucking eye so that it hits things. And it was like, you just recreated scenes from a video game.
Oh, nice.
It was.
It's nice to have shit like that. I mean, that's.
Yeah. It's brilliant because it's like, you just like, as someone who grew up playing these games and then I even bought the Anniversary version because I love Tomb Raider. I bought Tomb Raider Anniversary because replaying the first game, that was the first remake of a game that I think was done right. Where rather than just update the graphics, they went, we're going to remake it by just straight up making it a new game and expand the story to how we wanted the story to be originally. And it's just like, watching that was like, this is Tomb Raider. And then the end of it is basically her looking at getting a phone call from Sam, who's not spoken to her since the end of like the first game. Because, you know what, you've played the first one, Tomb Raider, you know, the first of the reboot trilogy, where, you know, they're on Kamatai and Sam almost gets sacrificed, you know, to the Storm Queen to become the new Storm Queen, basically.
Which, to be fair, is to be fair, it's sort of a problem with being a friend of Lara Croft.
Yes. Well, to the point, the second episode. Third episode opens up with basically them. The third episode opens up with them basically making you think that Jonas is dead from like who was introduced in the first game, and it's like, and was with her in the second game and with her all through the third game as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't do this to me. Do not kill Jonas outside of a video game. Please don't do this to me. Just don't kill. Because I genuinely like these characters that you've introduced in this franchise. And it was just, it's like playing, like watching a video game that you loved and then actually getting some attention to a series based on it. Rather than the usual shit that we've come to expect. Let's be honest, even you'll agree with me, we've come to expect the usual shit from these sort of stuff is, it's just going to be shit. I'm not going to bother.
Just make it cheap and pump it out to as many people as you can find.
Yeah, that's the usual way of doing it, and I'm like, please don't do that to something like this. Franchise has been going for over 20 years. There's a reason people want new video games in the franchise, because I really want to continue that story after Shadow of the Tomb Raider, because that Shadow of the Tomb Raider is basically. But I like that this is the midpoint between that, and it's the idea that they've gone, so the next game we're going to make is Tomb Raider 1. We're going to just remake it properly. Which I would not mind a Tomb Raider 1 remake with the new engine and the way the new games play, like all the new features, so they can redesign all the puzzles and stuff. I may have played through those stories already, but I would fully play through it again just to play it, with all the new mechanics and shit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's tons, especially of the PlayStation 1 year old.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing about it, is Tomb Raider is a really, but the other thing that's made me really excited was Sony's State of Play.
Okay.
So, I don't own a PlayStation, don't intend to own a PlayStation, it's coming out on all consoles, it's just that it was revealed at Sony's State of Play that Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix have decided to remaster and re-release Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1 and 2. Again. Finally. It has been a long fucking time overdue for that franchise to finally get a release. There hasn't been a new game for that franchise, by the way, to put it in perspective, Jax, since the PlayStation 2 era.
Yes, I know.
And we're on the PlayStation.
I had what was the one that came out on the GameCube?
Probably Defiance. The last one in the franchise. Yeah. Which was Legacy of Kain Defiance.
I had a couple of them.
Because there's
the
Legacy
big
of Kain, there's Legacy of Kain Blood Omen, there's Blood Omen 1. Then there's Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, which was the second part of the franchise.
Yeah.
Then there's Legacy of Kain Blood Omen 2.
Yeah, Blood Omen 1 and 2 were the ones that came out on GameCube.
And then there's Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 2. Then Legacy of Kain Defiance. And then they made a free-to-play game set in the same universe called Nosgoth, which, by the way, Square Enix should never have shut that game down because it was actually fucking good, and it was genuinely a good game.
Well, and then there was also Soul Calibur.
That's a different franchise.
Ah, that one. The swords were twin swords.
Yeah.
Did you not know this? Check it out.
I need this back. I need that. But no, they because the sword in Legacy of Kain, because Legacy of Kain's set in a different world to Soul Calibur now. Soul Calibur is definitely not related anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Soul Calibur set in a completely different world.
Yeah, because I remember the one. I remember the fantastic opening to the one I had, in which the sword, there was the big sword, and it gets split into two, and there was Kain on one side. No, it wasn't Kain; it was someone else, because Kain takes it off of them towards the end. But yeah,
Blood Omen is Kain becoming a vampire and realizing that Kain's the actual Kain has to become the balance. Is actually becomes the Guardian of Balance by killing the Guardian of Balance and stealing the Soul Reaver off him, basically. But what's funny is when you find out at the end of Defiance that the whole reason the world went to shit in the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, why the whole world's the way it is at that point, isn't because Kain refused to kill himself and rid the world of vampires. It's because the Elder God that has basically been, telling you what to do this whole time, fucked everything up on purpose.
Sounds about right, that God, really. Sure.
Oh yeah.
Well.
But yeah, it's one of those things of oh okay.
Yes, I've got myself some things to do on that front.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things about it. It's it makes me just happy because that is a franchise that I genuinely genuinely I want to
genuinely like it.
Yeah, I love it, and that is my. It used to be basically my comfort game, if that makes sense.
Oh, I get it completely. I mean, that was what Elite Dangerous was to me for many years.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's the game that I enjoyed just enjoyed playing. Didn't matter that I was that I wasn't. I just enjoyed playing on my own and going, yeah, I'll just play this game for a little bit because there's no, it doesn't. There's nothing about. There's nothing bad in it. There's nothing good. There's nothing. Excuse me. It was just okay. This is a fun game. I don't have to worry about anything. I can just de-stress about everything.
Yeah, that's the great thing about certain games. They can do that to you, and they might even be very sort of mind-taxing games. But for some reason, they just manage to chill you out in the ways you need them to chill you out. That's it. And that's why we love these forms of expression, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's definitely why we love these forms of expression.
I will say though, I'm getting close to needing tea.
Well, I am gonna. Well, I think I'm going to call this here anyway. We discussed a lot of things. We discussed a lot of games anyway. I think we should call it here anyway. It's normal. Just put.
We've had a good run this season. I think talking about a bit of everything and going off down many roads we didn't expect.
Well, that's the way it happens. At the minute, at the minute, in terms of things that we normally would talk about, there's not that much actually coming out. Agatha All Along is ongoing. I'm probably going to enjoy the next... I don't know how many more episodes are left, but I'm going to enjoy the next week's episode, especially after the ending of this week's.
There's 9 episodes in total.
So, yeah. We've got another... I was surprised that the reveal was basically halfway through of who he was.
Yeah, that's why I think it might be someone else.
Well, yeah, but we already know from the revealed toys that it isn't, so... It's kind of sad.
Well, I may talk about... Next session, I may talk about the final season of Only Murderers in the Building, because that's what I'm watching.
Is it any good? I've seen adverts for it, but I've never actually never watched it.
So here's the thing. I'm a massive fan of Steve Martin and Martin Short, so I was going to watch it for that. I did not care at all who Selena Gomez was, is, has been, whatever. No interest. And it ends up being one of the funniest. The three of them together is one of the funniest ensembles since them having Chevy Chase in their group for Three Amigos. It's great. She is hilarious with them. They are hilarious with her. The entire show is funny. It's very well written. Great mystery. If you are going to watch it, I won't spoil it. And it is all one big story as well as their own in a lot of stories. It's very good. Very, very good. Very good. So many celebrities. So many celebrities.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of celebrities in it.
I will tell you this right now. Paul Rudd, aka Ant-Man, appears in it multiple times. But yeah, definitely give that a watch. What else? We do have something else coming out. I can't remember what it is right now. So yeah. Oh no, I don't. Why do I have a weird feeling that this year we're meant to be getting a Halloween special from Disney?
No idea. I don't know if we are.
I don't know if we are, but I have a weird feeling that we were meant to get a spotlight at Halloween. But anyway,
we might do. We just might not have had it announced yet.
Yeah. So we've got that maybe, and I might talk about the Vince McMahon documentary because man, some of that was weird, and it does weirdly enough interconnect.
As per usual, we will be back in 2 weeks anyway. Even if no one watches this two old people rambling shit, but
yeah, she's by definition older than me.
I'm younger than you, you old fart.
Yeah, but you just seem older. Anyway,
I am definitely younger than you.
We've got no proof of such things.
You were born in the 80s, I wasn't.
Yeah, maybe. That's true.